Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Yeardley Smith about Who Are You People, which is going to be on digital demand and in select theaters February 24th. It's an honor and privilege to speak with you. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Peter. That is a Petey. Sorry, do they call you Peter?
PD, Pete, whatever you want. Honestly,
I'm gonna call you by the right thing.
It's an energetic intro because we got a lot to talk about, and we want to get everything in there right away. We got to get the plugs in. Let's be honest.
I hear you. I'm on board.
I love the fact that I feel like this movie becomes a lot more relatable because during there's a lot of like self-reflection and figuring things out with a lot of these characters. And during the pandemic, that's what we were doing because frankly, we had the time to do so. A lot of people were kind of at home doing nothing, figuring out what they wanted to do. So I feel like a movie like this becomes a lot more relatable now because we were dealing with a lot of that and figuring a lot of things out. I'm curious if you thought about that at all.
I don't think it's a really good observation. I don't think I thought of it in terms of the pandemic. Interestingly, we wrapped literally 1 week before everything shut down. We just really counted our blessings when we were like, oh, crap, this is, like it was so unexpected. But I do think, sorry, I can't hear. My cat was just here, covered in cat hair. I do think that, to your point, that this movie is really about second chances and redemption and whether or not you can, it's about forgiveness. Who deserves forgiveness? Can you get to that point of forgiveness? I think it's really thought-provoking, and hopefully after people watch it, they go, to dinner and go, okay, so let's unpack that.
So well said. And I always love when you have someone like Ben, who wore many hats on this film, who wrote it and directed it. I always find that really interesting because I'm also creative as well. And I can't even imagine all the conversations that can be had with Ben in regards to what was on the script, but then in regards to the certain shots and how things are going to look. What were those conversations like with you and Ben, the ones that you had, knowing that he wore many hats on this film? I'm curious about that.
Ben was very specific about what he wanted. He knew, I think, and I'd be curious to know what you think as a creative in that space as well. When you have written it and you're directing it, do you ever worry that you can't get enough distance from it? You sort of can't see the forest for the trees?
That's an interesting thing because you've worked on it for a long time. So there's kind of this almost separation anxiety in the air a little bit. So I see where you're coming from with that. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I think that added to the specificity of his directing style.
Yep.
Like he had been with it so long. And I think actually it wasn't like he dashed off the script and then the thing got made. I have a feeling it had ruminated with him for quite some time, either as he was trying to get it made at another time. I'm not quite sure about that, but it had been a long time coming.
Yep.
And so, excuse me, when he actually had actors in front of him, there was this enthusiasm for this thing I've been living with for so long is now going to come to life. Oh my God, this is what I see, and I always appreciate a director who knows exactly what they want.
Absolutely. No, it's a lot of those conversations too. Like I'm realizing from, like I said, being creative, running some shorts of a team, it's a lot of conversations, like a lot of like production meetings, but then a lot of side calls. By the way, we forgot to talk about this like a lot.
Yes. And I don't know how you do that. Like, how do you compartmentalize all that?
I'm still learning because the people that I'm working with.
Shut up, Siri. Sorry. I don't know what's happening. Okay, good.
No, yeah, shut up, Siri.
Shut up, Siri. God.
No, it's hard.
Uninvited.
I'm learning. I was trying to think, just kind of segue to next things. There was an animated television show you've worked on, right? I'm trying to think which one it is.
Oh yeah, I don't know. It's a little thing called The Simpsons. I don't know.
Yes,
You might
that's
have
the
seen
one.
it.
Yes, and you played
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
There
yeah.
was a you played a character that played, was it trombone? No, it was
No,
saxophone.
it's saxophone. Yeah, yeah.
Liza.
Yeah.
Liza Lisa
Lisa
Simpson.
Lisa
That's
Simpson.
the one.
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
and scene.
The best. She's the best.
No,
The absolute best.
when did she become a part? Like, well, actually, let me actually backtrack because I don't know. Because you've been voicing this character for such a long time, is Lisa Simpson part of your identity as Yeardley Smith? Would you
Yes,
say?
I
Okay,
don't.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I didn't want to
I
put
don't
it the
think you
words in your mouth
can.
and say she's part of your identity because maybe you'd be like, no, she's not.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, I don't think you can play a character that long and not have there be some kind of mind meld
Yeah.
that happens, you know? Um, but Lisa Simpson and I, there were pieces of her that I was already well acquainted with right from the get-go. Like in the very beginning when we were doing the shorts on Tracy Ullman show, she was basically a foil for Bart, and she was a younger sister. I'm a younger sister. I'm like, I get that. Then we moved to Half Hour, and James L. Brooks, our executive producer, decided she would be a prodigy, like a genius in school, and she would um, play the saxophone. And while I'm neither of those, I don't do either. I'm not a prodigy and I do not play the saxophone. I do recognize I was in touch with I'm not sure where I belong in my peer group.
Absolutely.
And it sort of, it goes back to if you do anything well as a child, whether it's sports or music, or in my case, it was school plays, and you're singled out, or even academics, you're now separate from your peer group. So then you spend all your time trying to reintegrate into your peer group.
Yeah.
And it's, easier for some than others. And so I recognize that struggle with her, the feeling of where do I belong and where do I belong and still be myself, right? Yeah. It's not easy.
I feel like if you ask any voice actor on The Simpsons, any creative, any writer, I feel like everyone's going to have a different answer to this question. That's why I'm really excited to ask you this question. For you, because there's been so many milestones and so many big things that have happened with The Simpsons, right? Like monumental, like milestone now of seasons, anniversaries, episodes. The movie was a big deal. Like I had my tickets to go see The Simpsons movie like 3 months in advance. What for you? And I don't know if you remember, it was those days where like the pre-buy tickets were only for like the big movies, right? Because and I got them for the Simpsons movie. I saw it the day of, which was amazing. Everyone shouted at the to be continued part. Everyone shouted in the theater. What was for you the biggest Simpsons moment that you've been part of? If you had to pick one that you were like, wow, like this is insane. This is iconic. Like, I'm just curious because there's been so many, right?
There have been so many. I mean, I think as they happen, you think, oh my God, this is the biggest thing. I remember when they got, the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame when I won my Emmy in 1992 as one of the very first voiceover Emmys ever given because they didn't even have a category back then.
No, they didn't.
When we got our first Peabody Award, when you get recognized by organizations like GLAAD, right?
Yeah.
Or I don't know. I mean, everything. I think what is most significant for me about The Simpsons culturally is that it's still so culturally relevant. For instance, we did an episode, was it last season? It was 2 seasons ago, where we had one of the characters had a mastectomy, and she did not have breast reconstruction. And so it's revealed in the animation, and that character is based on our showrunner's wife. So Matt Selman's wife, Renee Ridgely, is a real proponent of, she had a double mastectomy. She's very open about it, had breast reconstruction. It didn't go well. And now she's all about the flatties, right? The women who chose not to. And she's such an advocate and inspiration to cancer survivors who choose that path as well. And the fact that our show can represent that and do it so beautifully without taking you out of the Simpsons universe is amazing. It's like it's such lightning in a bottle.
And to add to that, it's part of our lives, that show. Like
yes.
It is. And it's like, I don't think that could ever be planned. I don't think there's many shows that have that impact on people where it's one of those shows that never goes away. It will be referenced.
I don't think I agree. I don't think it'll ever happen again. Mm-hmm. But to your point about we're going on, they just picked us up for season 35 and 36.
And 1987, is that when you first voiced?
Yes. I mean, that's more than half my life. I'm 58. For fuck's sake, that's incredible. And we have people who are writing on the show who grew up watching the show who thought, oh my God, my dream job would be to write on The Simpsons, but they won't still be on by the time I'm old enough to do that. Like, yes, we will. And your children will probably be able to write on our show. So, I mean, it is the gift that keeps on giving.
It's crazy. And there's also, I think a lot of people also don't realize this too. Maybe not all of them, but with Simpsons, there was a lot of like other projects, not just the show, right? There's like and I don't know, I think, did you, like, whenever there was like a video game or like a ride or anything, would you, you would provide the voice, right?
Yes.
There's so many projects just from that show, right?
It's incredible. They had one of the most successful video games ever, which was Hit and Run.
Yeah.
We did a couple of video
Road
games.
Rage.
Then
Remember Simpsons Road Rage?
Road Rage.
One of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's the Universal Studios ride at, Simpsons Land, which is amazing, which we did the voices for. And it's, it's great. And there's also now they sort of lean more toward merchandise that doesn't have our voice in it, because then they don't have to pay us. And trust me, it's always about money.
Why do you think I did assume? It would have been a rookie mistake if I'm like, every time you hear Lisa, why do you think I kind of set that up? I'm like, wait, maybe not all of it, but some of it. You know what I mean?
I could do. This is Lisa Simpson. There's Lisa Simpson for you. She's not that far from my own regular speaking voice.
Before we wrap that, I do have a question for Lisa Simpson, if that's okay. A quick question.
I can try. I'm not great at improvising as her, but I'm going to do it for you, Petey.
Well, I appreciate that. What is your favorite genre of music besides the music you play in band practice and band class?
Oh, I have a soft spot in my heart for 80s hair metal.
Ah.
Yeah, like Scorpions and Def Leppard and Dokken. Yeah, it's a little known fact about Lisa Simpson. But, sometimes when she's alone in her room and she's writing in her log, I like to listen to a little, 80s hair, especially the ballads. I have a thing for songs in the minor key.
That's amazing. Who Are You People is going to be available on digital demand, select theaters, February 24th. Yeardley, it was an honor and privilege to speak with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Petey. It was a great pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.